A Netflix documentary, Is the Crypto King Dead or Is He Staying? We have prepared the summary of his documentary. Enjoy the show. Our story begins in December 2018 with Gerald Cotten, the founder of QuadrigaCX, Canada's largest crypto exchange. He and his new bride Jennifer Robertson go on a trip in India, where Cotten, who suffers from Crohn's disease, falls ill. Unfortunately, his health is getting worse and he passes away shortly after being hospitalized. A month later, QuadrigaCX announced his passing, a statement attributed to Robertson. This is where the story got weird. In the months leading up to Cotton's death, customers were complaining that they couldn't get their money off their stock market and were waiting weeks, if not months, to get paid. A lot of warning bells are ringing in most people's heads right now, said one customer who spoke to QuadrigaCX at the time. Quite rightly, as it turned out. On January 28, the exchange went offline for maintenance. Soon after, a court file, first obtained by the CoinDesk, revealed the QuadrigaCX owed the customers $190 million and what seemed to be the biggest hitman at the time. No one knew how to access its stock market reserves. His widow told the court that Cotten had a laptop, but it was encrypted. The password or recovery key was not given to him, and Cotten was the only one who controlled the QuadrigaCX cold storage system. In other words, with Cotten's death, access to the $190 million cryptocurrency has potentially disabled, or so it seemed. The story of QuadrigaCX. QuadrigaCX was launched in Canada in 2013 by Gerald Cotten and Michael Pentrin with a focus on local Bitcoin trading. With a small staff, they expanded to open a Bitcoin ATM in Vancouver in 2014. But after a successful attempt to go to public and be listed on Canadian Stock Exchange, they had problems raising funds and ran off the money in 2015. By 2016, the plans to go to public were abandoned, the legal counsel was released, and all the managers resigned from QuadrigaCX, creating a one-man show in which Cotten ran the business alone. According to the report, Cotten managed the company from his laptop, which was not from any permanent office. However, since the price of Bitcoin has increased from 1,000 to about 20,000 in 2017, the company has grown despite its difficult start. People wanted a way to take action, and the company reached 3,500 customers who trade assets worth over $1 billion. But this price increase would not last long. When Bitcoin crashed in 2018, customers wanted to cash out everything they could. And that's where the real problems start. Who was Gerald Cotten? In order to understand how so many people trust a company that is a one-man show with their money, it is important to know who that man is. Gerald Cotten was an early cryptocurrency evangelist and in 2013 was part of Vancouver group that referred to itself as the Vancouver Bitcoin Co-op. On the surface, he seemed like a good Canadian guy who was an expert cryptocurrency and believed in the power of Bitcoin and in the fact the cryptocurrency in general is a transformation technology for finance. According to the lengthy Vanity Fair praise, Cotten always seemed to be smiling. It was a light and warm smile. It comforted strange. It made him seem light-hearted. Unlike other CEOs, such as John Banks of Binance, Cotten did not attract attention and was not known as a public figure. However, QuadrigaCX was a sponsor of local crypto educational events to charities such as the Indian Orphanage, which is said was the reason for December 2018 visit. When QuadrigaCX business skyrocketed, it was still difficult for most people to invest in cryptocurrency, and the company had the advantage of being one of the first to enter the Sunday. Cotten's evangelization and knowledge of Bitcoin has been clear, and part of the company's success can be attributed to its early efforts to put more emphasis on helping people understand and see the potential of Bitcoin than on making a profit. But as these stories progressed, things were not as simple as they seemed. Cottens that brought everything to the surface. Unlocking missing funds. According to the excellent podcast series on the story, Exit Scam, many people, including his widow, were waiting for the arrival of a dead man's switch after Cotton's death. The case is basically an email or other message that is triggered in the event of an executive death, indicating the private case or where the private case can be found. But the dead man's switch message was not coming. It seemed especially strange that QuadrigaCX had no plans to access cold storage wallets, because it turned out the Cotton had changed his will a month before he left for India. Customers waiting for funds locked in their QuadrigaCX account immediately began to cry foul, questioning on Reddit or other forums whether Cotton was really dead. But here's the thing about cryptocurrency: while many people think that Bitcoin is anonymous, it's not in a very important ways. Blockchain technology is based on the availability of a public ledger of all transactions that can be verified and viewed by anyone, anywhere. Simply put, you can't necessarily that from the ledger that a certain person transferred Bitcoin to another person. However, you can see that at a certain time and the date this particular wallet address transfers this amount of Bitcoins to this other wallet. So even if no one could access the cryptocurrency in QuadrigaCX's wallets to return the money to customers, the crypto will still be there. In the coming months, 6 Bitcoin wallets linked to QuadrigaCX were identified. Surprisingly, they were almost empty. Scams and shames are coming to light after it became clear that the cold storage wallets, which were supposed to contain QuadrigaCX reserves, contained a small part of the lost $119 million to accordingly from Ernst & Young published another bombshell report in June 2019. Customer accounts and then other exchanges that be used to finance his lavish lifestyle and personal trading activities. The trading activities were enormous. The report 2016 between the years of 2018 stock market and Bitcoin accounts 9,450 Cotton, 380,000 Ethereum and 213 Litecoin. Transmits expelled in detail. Inside QuadrigaCX, there were many fake accounts, including one named Chris Merkey, who was not only a pseudonym, but also the largest single user on platform, the whale of QuadrigaCX. Merkey's large deposits on QuadrigaCX were as fake as he was, and Cotton used these fake funds to buy very real bitcoins from other customers. According to the report from the Internet Securities Commission, which detailed exactly where the money went, he lost $115 million under these aliases. He also lost $28 million on foreign exchanges and spent about $40 million on real estate, vehicles, travel, and other personal expenses. It was difficult to determine where all the money went. The Ernst & Young report revealed that there were no accounting documents and that there were usually verified documents. Out of the exact numbers may never be known. What was very clear at this point was the QuadrigaCX was a Ponzi scheme. The report reads, the collapse of the crypto asset trading platform QuadrigaCX was caused by a fraud committed by Gerald Cotten, co-founder and CEO of Quadriga. Customers entrusted their assets to Quadriga, which gave false assertions that these assets would be protected. In reality, Cotton spent, traded and used these assets at will, operating without any proper oversight or internal control system. Cotton misused customers' assets for years without being attainted and detected, ultimately crashing the entire platform. The next shoe that will was that this was not Cotton's first rodeo. Reddit detectives and investigation journalist Amy Castor have discovered that he has a long story of Ponzi schemes, starting when he was just 15 years old. Combine this with the fact that Cotton owns boats that can go to the Caribbean without refueling, knows how to fly airplanes, often travels abroad, with large amounts of cash, and QuadrigaCX wallets are emptied not only when he dies, but also some of them. After some time, it is not difficult to conclude that Cotten was planning an exit scam, which leads to the biggest debate in the Gerald Cotten affair. Did he fake his own death as part of an exit scam, or did he really die and start a chain of events that revealed his plan? Is Cotten still alive? From the moment the news broke that Cotten had died, long before the explosive Ernst & Young report, theories began to circulate on the intent that Cotten was still alive and faking his own death. Although there is an official death certificate and the evaluation by the Global and Mail newspaper with quotes from the Indian hospital detailing the timeline of his death, some are not convinced. There is a typo on the death certificate. Cotten had developed skills from years of illegal activities to cover his tracks. He knew how to create fake ideas, plans that he owned, and about he could use to escape. There is a huge amount of evidence pointing to the idea that Cotten was indeed planning an exit scam and was a fraudster. On the Exit Scam podcast, Aaron Lemmer details how, in India, people can hire facilitators for a fake death, including getting a fake body to put in a coffin as part of the package. He also explains that at no point was Cotten's body transported from India to his funeral in Canada. Did anyone have to identify the body? The former QuadrigaCX investors called on the authorities to exhume Cotten's body and conduct an autopsy to solve the question in the most final way possible. Until then, the evidence at hand leaves no room for debate. If we put everything we know together, it seems that Cotten died and ultimately dead in India in 2018. Why the disappear?